You are watching Sports and Sorts live on YouTube. That's 75% sports, 25% sorts. And here are your hosts, Shane and the Bry Man.
That's new.
It's not new.
It's not new?
That was the intro for the Cinebro show.
It did sound, yeah. Yeah, I thought I recognized it.
And we're doing that today because there's a lot of movie stuff to talk about.
Yes.
We're going to start off with the movies. We're going to start off sorts today, and then we're going to go pile into all of the other topics. I mean, there's some NBA playoff stuff that we want to kind of probably breeze through a little bit. There's some good series. There's some terrible series. Like the 76ers did not show up at all. Lakers, they're doing well.
Trust the process, Sixers fans.
Lakers doing well. The Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell went ham. Luka Doncic, he went ham. There's a lot of people that are just making their names in the playoffs as usual. It's some good stuff to talk about. We're not going to get into it too deep because the NBA playoffs take a long time. There's a lot of teams involved, and even my Houston Rockets are up 2-1. So we'll get into it just a little bit briefly. I want to talk mostly about Luka Doncic because he's just a beast. But anyway, let's get into. We also gonna have the NFL talk about them. They had a ton of positive tests that were actually negative.
Not really.
That's interesting to see how that plays out. And there's all sorts of drama involved with that. So and then on top of that, the NFL adds more drama. What are they going to do? They're going to let certain teams, the Dolphins are one of them.
Yeah.
That's the Bryman's team. They're going to allow up to 13,000 fans in the stadium, particularly on opening kickoff. We're going to get into that as well. But I wanted to talk about all the DC stuff that happened this weekend. Oh, I was in heaven because I am a diehard DC fan. I've been kind of disappointed with some of their lackluster performances. I wasn't a huge fan of Aquaman. I thought it was good, almost good. It was pretty good.
I like Aquaman.
I know you did. I thought it was pretty good. I thought Wonder Woman was very good. I didn't really particularly love the ending, but I did love Wonder Woman for the most part. It was filmed very well. Justice League that came out, that was terrible. But I did like Batman vs Superman a lot. I loved Man of Steel. So those are movies that I felt like they were starting to get on the right path, and then all of a sudden things went down with Zack Snyder and his child who had passed away early on, and it was kind of like a suicide, I believe. And then he had to bow out of that film, and then Joss Whedon took over, and then you got the Justice League that everybody calls version, which it looked like it was rushed. It looked like it wasn't one thought. It looked like there was multiple hands in the pot. It just wasn't a very good movie, and they really kind of changed Batman's tone. And overall, wasn't a huge fan. But that's where the Zack Snyder cut is going to come out, and we're going to be talking about that in a few. The Batman first trailer came out. I want to talk about that because I'm a huge Batman fan. You're a huge Superman fan. Suicide Squad 2 with our guy. Well, not our guy. I mean, you love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Love the first Guardians is still my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah, James Gunn is amazing. And then we also have Wonder Woman 84 trailer that came out. Black Adam teaser concept art thing came out. That's what that really was. I like what I saw, but you don't really know yet because it seems like it's going to be very Asgardian almost, the look to it a little bit. So I'll be interested to see how that looks when they start filming. Let's get into it. Let's get into the sorts. We have a lot of good stuff here. I want to start on the Wonder Woman 84 because that movie's the one that's coming out the soonest. We finally get to see
Still a ways off.
Kristen Wiig.
Yes, as Cheetah.
And it's still a part that I'm still not sold on. I did like part of the action scenes, even though it looked a little computer generated. I did like it, but they didn't focus in on her face very well. And I have a feeling because it looks kind of clowny. You don't want to really incorporate the person's face too much when you're turning them into an animal. Yeah. Because then it looks goofy.
Well, it looks like cats.
Like if you're going to do it, you have to do it with makeup and all that. And then enhance it.
Right.
Enhance it with, the computer generated stuff. And do more practical instead of like all CG. And so
Otherwise,
I'm not sure how
that's the magical Mr. Mistopheles, and you really don't want.
Yeah, you really gotta be careful with this because you don't want it to be creepy or comical. You want it to look cool, and I think that there's a chance that it doesn't look cool right now, and they have time to really kind of fix it. They did this with Sonic the Hedgehog, and granted, it was a live action kind of animated movie. But they did fix it, and Sonic ended up being good. It was a good movie. They're coming out with a part 2, and it's a movie that I think kind of shocked people a little bit when it came out and how good it was. And kids loved it, so that was great. But I think when you're doing this, listen. I know that they might have just shown it briefly, just so that people couldn't really see her face because they're still working on it, which is what I hope. All right, so. And then when we're done with talking about all these, we'll break them down in order of like most excited to least excited. Yep. All right. So we'll start off with Wonder Woman 84. The trailer was really good, funny, cool. I think it's some people think it's funny or silly. I think it's pretty cool when she's taking her lasso and riding freaking thunderbolts, going across the sky, especially at the very beginning. I was like, oh, that's like sick. Like that means she's getting help from like her father or something along those lines where she's able to just kind of I thought that was pretty cool. And I think there's going to be more around that. I think the comedy in this works really well because Chris Pine he is so funny and so dry, he's like a dry funny, but not super. It's kind of goofy, but at the same time dry. Like he doesn't really say the thing and like smile and like wait. He just kind of like says it, and it's kind of like, oh wait, what?
He's got that ignorance.
Yes, exactly. And but Chris Pine plays that very well. He does it, and I like it. Like the parachute pants comment, like that. All that stuff is funny. Does everybody parachute now? And she's like, yeah. They have very good chemistry, and I think that's mostly due to Chris Pine and the way he acts. Like it's just, I think he can mingle with anybody.
I like the scene. It wasn't in this trailer. I think it's in the first one where he walks by the trash can and he's like, "Is this art?" And she's like, "That's a trash can. That's a trash can." Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And he does it so well. Such humility behind it. So he does. When they hop in the plane and they take off, and he's like, "They're not gonna be able to catch me. They don't know how I fly." And she's like, "I forgot to tell you about radar." He's like, "Wait, are they gonna shoot at us?" Yeah. So like that. That's kind of funny.
Scott. For an action star, which I kind of consider him to be, especially because of all the Star Trek stuff, he's got really good comedic timing. And
nowadays you have to.
And he delivers the lines really well. I remember in the first Wonder Woman, I love the scene where they're on the boat and they're coming into London, and London is smoggy and disgusting, and she's like, it's, what did she say? She's like, it's terrible. And he's like, yeah, it's not for everyone. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, he just has like the lines are good. Like I know it's all script writing, it's all screenplay too, but he delivers them really well, and he delivers comedy well, and he's got the right look and the right face for it, and
him, Chris Hemsworth, they have that Nick, Chris Pratt. Apparently, if your first name's Chris,
all the Chris's.
If your name's Chris, you're golden. Right. That's really what it comes down to. So, all right, so The Wonder Woman trailer was pretty good. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I thought there was elements of it that I was like, oh, that's sweet. When she drops her wings, the armor and all, and that's all that stuff's kind of cool, kind of iconic.
Yeah.
And seeing her kind of go head to head with Cheetah for a second. And I thought it was cool how like she's getting ready to like go and throw her on the ground. But of course the cat lands on her feet.
Right.
Like that's kind of cool. Like, so that all that kind of stuff. And it shows that in the comics, like Cheetah was like her nemesis. Like this is like a person that can really kind of go toe to toe with Wonder Woman.
She can bring it. Yeah.
And they really like to go after each other. So, all right. So that was interesting. Then we had, I'll go into the next one, which is Suicide Squad, Part 2. Now, there was 2 things dropped. I don't know if you saw both. There was the trailer, and then there was like kind of like the behind the scenes a little bit talk. And the behind the scenes one was kind of cool because you got to hear like kind of James Gunn's thought on you got to hear his thoughts about like this movie. It's the biggest movie he's ever done. He thinks it's going to be incredible and all that kind of stuff. And all things directors have to say, but you also hear from the actors and you're like, I can't believe how they're doing this. Like they're doing this. And like, they just make it hunt. And then one of the actors is like, if there's an actor, if there's a director that can do that, like this is what he's about and he is going to do this. It's going to be amazing. And it does look pretty cool. You miss a little bit of Deadshot in there, but with Will Smith no longer, I think, being in the franchise, whether they could afford him or not, it's just, he's not there. But
some people,
Harley Quinn's there.
Some people would consider Idris Elba an upgrade. I'm not saying I do, because I like both of them. Yeah. But Idris Elba is the Black Superman, as he proclaimed himself to be in Hobbs and Shaw. And, but I mean, I don't know. I would say at worst, that's a lateral casting, right? I mean, at worst.
It is.
I never like lack of continuity. Like I still would have liked to. Now, do I think that Idris Elba is every bit the actor Will Smith is? Yeah, I do. But would I have preferred Will Smith? Yes, because I would have liked to have seen the continuity. Also, I liked the way Will Smith portrayed Deadshot because he didn't Will Smith it. It was a good, somewhat out of character role for him, and I thought he did a good job with it, even though it was in the overall context of a bad movie. I mean, Idris Elba will be fine, and I'm sure you won't even, once it kind of gets going and he's in the role, you won't even care. But I did like Will Smith in the first one. You know, that's the only thing that kind of, irks me a little bit. But I mean, he's awesome though. So I'm sure I'll love him. I'm sure I'll love him.
Well, I mean, he's not playing Deadshot. He's going to be playing a different character. So I think they're just replacing Deadshot.
Oh, he's not playing Deadshot?
No.
I thought he was playing Deadshot.
No, I think it's Bloodsport or something like that.
Oh, so there's going to be a backstory as to what happened with Deadshot then?
I don't know. They might just got out. Who knows? Maybe he's off on other missions. We don't know. We don't know what they're going to do.
Oh, I thought he was actually Deadshot.
No, I can look at it.
Oh, if that's the case, then then whatever.
Hold on. I'm looking.
That actually would make me feel better because like I said, I don't like the idea of replacing.
His name's Bloodsport.
Oh, it's Bloodsport. Okay. Bloodsport. All right. Then, sorry, I thought he was Deadshot.
I think it's a similar.
I thought they were
type.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's cool, actually.
So
that's actually cool.
Yeah, we have that. We have Pete Davidson's going to be in this, which is going to be cool. You have John Cena.
Well, you won't be able to see him, but he'll be in it.
He went there.
I love Cena, though. I mean, I really do. I think he's going to be a good actor, and I am. And I will continue once a year at some point to tweet at him and at The Rock to say, when are we going to get that Tango and Cash remake?
Seriously.
With the two of them.
That'd be nice. So this whole movie, like even like the behind the scenes one that they did, all awesome. I loved it. I loved seeing everything about it. I can't wait to see this movie. I can't wait to see, James Gunn's take on this and how it all comes out, because obviously he did a great job with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Suicide Squad is very similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy. So similar tones will be good. I do think that the Suicide Squad needs to be a little bit more brutal. So I'll be interested to see what their rating is. They'll probably be a PG-13, but
it needs to be an R.
I think it's going to be a PG-13. You're losing out on a lot of
it's true.
But I think that James Gunn can do a PG-13 movie that is more close to R.
Yeah, he can ride the edge there.
And I don't know if you also saw the Suicide Squad. There was kind of a trailer for, I think it's for probably one of the games that are coming out, and that's the Suicide Squad versus the Justice League.
I did not.
You have to watch that. You have to watch that just for like the last 30 seconds. You're going to be like, oh yeah, I wish this was like an animated movie. That's what you're going to be like. You're going to be like, this would be sweet.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool. All right. So, there's also another movie, I think video game that's coming out. It's called the Gotham Knights. And that's with like Bruce Wayne dies. And then, like Nightwing, Batwoman, Robin, and the Red Hood all come together to take over and protect Gotham.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll check that out. I'll check both of those out.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun. I think it's for gameplay. I think it's for like it was like a PS4, PS5 maybe even game that's coming out or something like that. I don't know. Looks pretty cool though. Look, just both of them, just the stories. The movies that they have in these video games now are just, they could be pretty cool. They can be. They can do a really good job with them. All right, so then let's get into let's get into the Black Adam teaser concept art. I think the concept art looks great. I think that I'm really excited to see something about this. It seems like this movie just keeps getting pushed further and further away, and it's taking forever to get there. That's just because The Rock is probably so incredibly busy, which I wonder if they're going to be able to hold on to him forever, because if he's going to be this hard, how are they going to keep being able to use him? Are they just going to do a one-off? I don't know. But regardless, you need to see the Black Adam versus Shazam eventually.
Yeah, right.
So he's going to have to be around for at least 2 movies. So maybe they have
that would be an epic movie. Him and Zach Levi together.
They have good personalities.
With a cameo with Henry Cavill in there.
Oh, this would be great. That would be amazing. Yeah, because and then and we also heard as far as the Flash movie.
Oh boy, I'm excited about that.
Affleck,
even more now. Affleck
and Keaton are both in the movie.
I'm really happy that Affleck decided to do that.
Yeah,
because I didn't want to lose him completely as a Batman.
He's good. He was good when they used him correctly.
Yes, yeah, he was, and I really am happy that movie is shaping up to. The idea of seeing Michael Keaton as sort of a Batman Beyond, which is what I would assume his character would be at this point.
Possibly,
older Bruce Wayne.
He's old, yeah.
I'm just so excited to see him, hopefully in the suit again too.
Yeah.
That would just be bonkers. I mean,
if he's a Batman Beyond, if he's not going to be in the suit.
No, he won't be in the suit if it's Batman.
He'll be walking around with a cane.
right, yeah. But maybe he gets in the suit. I don't know. Actually, I thought I read somewhere he would be, so I don't know. But man, he's old. You're talking about an old guy now. But even still, that should be really cool. That is something that's awesome about those Flash movies where you have the multiverse and you've got Flashpoint and timelines can collide. It
is really cool.
It should be that should be great. I'm very excited for that movie.
I'm looking forward to it too. I want to see how this all plays out, and I'm really hoping that you get some more stuff from Affleck, because Affleck, I really do think that you can't take his Justice League stuff, because that was just terrible. The way that they handled Batman, the way that they did everything, they made him just seem like a weak link.
I wish we could just wipe that movie from existence, and maybe in a way they'll be able to.
Which leads us into the Snyder Cut. So let's get into the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut is set in I think a 4.3 aspect ratio. kind of that little bit different style,
Yeah.
the way that you got to see it. There's a lot of stuff in there that wasn't in the Justice League. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of scenes that I'm kind of like, wait, that wasn't in there. Wait, that wasn't in there.
I
Wait, that wasn't in
believe
there. That didn't look like that. What's like Steppenwolf? His living armor looks a lot different. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Like
It don't
I
look
was
like a
like,
goofball.
whoa. And then you got to see Darkseid right at the beginning.
Yes.
I was like,
Right. Right.
We didn't get to see Darkseid. I don't even
Right.
care if it's a nightmare that Ben Affleck's having. Like, I don't care.
Right. Right.
Like, we
Right.
didn't get to see that.
Yep.
And he looked kind of cool. I mean, he looked raw,
Yeah.
but he looked cool. Like, he wasn't wearing his
Yeah.
armor or anything.
Right. He looked formidable. All I can tell you is I am going to consider this to be the actual Justice League movie when it comes out. Now, hopefully it doesn't suck, and it's going to be done in 4 parts, if I recall
4
correctly.
hour
It's
parts,
not just
miniseries, yeah.
4 1 hour, yeah.
Which
so
is what I'd hope for, but yeah.
yeah, I'm excited for that. I really am. I don't know. I know it's next year. I don't know when next year. I would assume it's summer probably, but all I can tell you is everything I've read and seen is that this is basically 75% of this movie is going to be completely different, which gives me a great deal of hope because there was probably only about 25% of Justice League that was any good. So hopefully if we can swap out the bad 75% with the Snyder cut 75%, maybe you get the makings of a good movie.
Like that scene at the very end where you have Batman taking the lead and saying like, yeah, I know what you're saying, but he's never fought anybody like us, not united.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a Batman thing. Like, that's what Batman would say. He would be like looking at everybody and everybody would be like, completely take everything he's saying 100% serious and like, oh yeah, that's right. We're Batman. You know?
Given that Steve Rogers kind of speech.
Yeah. But in a different way, because like there's the intimidation factor. Like he talks and it's not like, because Captain America is always kind of like a little,
he's positive, optimistic.
Positive,
I gotta tell you, Cap, I really miss that optimism.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Batman's dark and he's very straightforward and very, straight to the point. I don't know. He's got a different mannerism about him that's just
extremely different character.
So yes, like very yin and yang almost. And just that speech that he gave, with Flash coming out and saying, but he's killed other planets, and I'm assuming he's taken the planets, and taken and killed everybody along with it. He hasn't fought anybody like us, not united. Like that's just like boom, and then Batman's done. Like he doesn't have to keep going on with the same. He just says this phrase, and they're kind of like, "Oh yeah, well yeah, that's cool. Okay, cool.
Good point.
No doubt.
It's a good point. He's making sense over there.
Yeah,
spinning truth over there.
Yeah. He's
zero lies detected from the Batman.
Yes, exactly. And even if they were lies, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Good.
You wouldn't be able to tell.
Right.
Truth detecting or not. Even with I bet you he could have some kind of workaround with Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. He probably has some kind of workaround. Yeah. He'd do something crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the Justice League Snyder cut. Very excited for this. I agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot of different stuff. This is going to be the real cut. This is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a great movie, but I would just have to assume that it's going to be better.
Yeah. I wonder if after it premieres on HBO Max and they do the 4 separate episodes, if they'll just do a cut with it all together and then you can just watch the whole thing, which of course would be quite an epic movie, but 4 hours.
It takes up your day.
Yeah. But I would hope
that breaks in there.
I would imagine they will. And if it's good, I mean, listen, again, everything I've read said 75% of the film is different. Wow. That's basically a new movie. Mm-hmm. There's really no candy coating it. I mean, that is almost an entirely different movie.
Yeah.
And for years, you've had people clamoring and requesting and asking for the Snyder cut. And now we are finally going to get it. And I am incredibly excited. And because I wanted Justice League so badly to be great, and it failed on nearly every level. It just was not a good movie.
No.
And it was so like you said, piecemealed together. It just looked like it looked like there were two different directors.
Yeah.
And it was disjointed.
Yeah.
And that showed. It showed.
Yeah.
It was sloppy, and
this,
you know what?
And it's not to like, say that Joss Whedon is a terrible director. No, he gave us
No,
an
not at
amazing
all.
Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Avengers: Age of Ultron was not very good, but I would say
Joss Whedon's a talented guy.
He is a good director. I wouldn't say he's a great director. He just stepped into an impossible situation.
Right. I was just gonna say he came into a really tough situation.
And he obviously didn't see the vision that Zack Snyder had.
No, and if DC had been smart, and they weren't because they were impatient because Marvel was just piling up the W's, and DC was getting their asses handed to them.
Yeah.
And they really should have just said, you know what, we do not want to release, a piece of garbage just for the sake of having it out to try and keep up with the Joneses. Look, I mean, Marvel's doing their own. I never really understood. Look, I get it, right? You don't want Marvel to completely outshine you, especially when some people would consider that DC has the superior characters, which I believe they do. Mm-hmm. But still, I mean, patience. My mom used to say to me when I was a kid, patience is a virtue. They should have just paused and said, you know what? We're not going to have a new director step in. This is Zach's film, and we believe in Zach's vision. And, we're happy with everything that Zach has brought to the table. We're going to step back. We're going to put this on pause. We'll still pause production, give Zach the time he needs, and then we'll pick it up again. And I know that's easier said than done again, especially when Marvel's breathing down your neck and they're just piling up the money and the one good movie after another. But I would also have said, listen, I would have tried to approach it from the vein of we're not really competing with them. I don't know. I just don't see it that way. They're two different universes, I mean, it's not like you've got two different movie companies making movies about the same characters. They're two completely different worlds. I don't know. I don't really see it as a competition. Maybe it's just because as a fan, I don't see it as a competition because I'm not looking at it from the business perspective. I'm looking at it from, I love Marvel movies and I want to go see them. And I love DC movies and I want to go see them.
Right.
And if you have to hit the pause button because you've got an extraordinary circumstance that doesn't allow you to film properly, then I say hit the pause button, get it right, instead of giving us garbage and then having to re-release it as a separate cut. I would have just preferred the Snyder cut first, even if it would have taken another year to come out, maybe longer. But they felt the pressure from Marvel doing as well as they did. And at that point, I would have also said, listen, Marvel's, if we want to look at it this way, Marvel's kicking our rear ends anyway. Why rush at this point? Why rush to get it out? I mean, we're getting it, we're getting it right up the rear. So what do we have to lose at this point by pausing on the movie and just saying, okay, let's make sure if we do this, we go about it properly.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been the better approach, but whatever. They rushed it out, Justice League, and look what happened. So what did they have, like a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes? I don't know. It was terrible.
How did that actually get 13?
That might actually be how did it get 13?
And it wasn't that bad, but it was not a good movie. It was not a good
And
movie.
I tried very hard to like that movie. I just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and me both.
It wasn't like Batman and Superman, which took a beating. No, but you and I both
For
liked
one
them.
reason. And one reason only, it took a beating.
Which was
Martha.
Oh,
The only reason it took a beating. People piled on that. Whenever you talk about that movie, the first thing people come out of people's mouth is Martha.
I know. And it was one scene.
They don't talk about the scene that followed right after that. That was probably one of the greatest Batman scenes of all time.
Mm. Yeah.
That warehouse scene.
The warehouse? Oh, yeah.
Like, dude, come on. Like, that was an incredible scene. Incredible. Mm-hmm. So that movie was not a bad movie. That movie was a pretty darn good movie. Would I give it a 10 out of 10? No. I might give it an 8 out of 10. It was good.
I gave
that Batman scene a 10 out of 10.
I gave the director's cut, I think, an 8.5 out of 10. Because that movie,
you need a little bit more. Yeah. The problem is a lot of these movies, you can only have these movies go on so long in the theater,
right?
Because they just only have so much time and so many screens available. So,
3 hour comic book movies it's tough. I mean, as great as both the Avengers, Endgame and Infinity War were, and they were, it's tough. It's still a tough sell. 2.5 to 3 hours.
It's not really a tough sell for them. It's more of like you're limiting the amount of screens that it can be showed on. Right. So like you're not going to make as much money.
I still believe though that if the director's cut of Batman,
you should always come out with your best version.
I still think that would have been I think that would have been a higher rated movie. It connected so many more dots.
It did. I mean, it wasn't. They all weren't 100% needed, but it did. It was a little bit better. It was. I agree. All right, so let's get into the last one. The Batman.
Mm-hmm.
This trailer came out. Has an amazing line in it. And that line is, "I'm vengeance." That was incredible. I've been excited for this movie. I am still excited for this movie, and it looks like they are going to be taking a kind of raw, young Bruce Wayne / Batman and putting him through the ringer a bit. Like he's going to have to go up against a nemesis that's pretty tough. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I get to see Jim Gordon. Awesome. Love him. And you get to see Catwoman. You get to see Catwoman try and give Batman a little bit of some maneuver, like some kind of trying to fend him off a little bit, and Batman seems a little bit unfazed. Which is pretty much, I mean, he is a master of many martial arts. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this plays out. I'm excited to see when it comes out. I know only about 25% of the movie's filmed. They are starting. They restarted production. It might be starting this week, or it might have started last week. So I'm excited for this movie. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be gritty. I think it's going to be dark, and I think it's going to be what we wanted. What fans want from a Batman movie. Yeah. Kind of like what people wanted from a Deadpool movie. We got what they wanted from a Logan movie. We got. Now I don't think this is going to be rated R, but you're going to have like in Logan, that was what you really wanted out of a Wolverine type movie. You want to see him be absolute crazy. You want to see the blood. You want to see it because that's just who he is. That's just what he does. Deadpool, you want to see him act a fool. You want to see him slicing, and dice and just go crazy at slicing dice.
Logan was
like a Batman, but
Logan was one of the few movies where the trailer was epic and the movie matched it.
Yeah,
because I still believe
Deadpool
that Logan
was that too.
Trailer. I still believe that Logan trailer. And again, I'm so partial to Johnny Cash songs, but that use of that song hurt with that Logan trailer, and then the actual movie, it really like lived up to the trailer. It was just so perfectly done. Yeah,
and even Deadpool trailer was amazing, and so was the movie. And that was Fox. Fox did those, so it'll be interesting to see how Disney takes care of that because they tend to do different kind of superhero movies.
As far as the Batman goes, from my perspective, boy, that looks good. Robert Pattinson's got that young, brooding, vengeful vampire thing going on, and he's
always so pale.
He looks he did look very pale. It looks good. It really does. I was pleasantly surprised.
I do think he would have been a better Nightwing, but whatever.
Yeah, probably. But you know what? We'll see. Everything in that trailer was pretty cool. And I liked. Look,
this guy's crazy.
I mean, Batman is a dark character, and he should be a dark character. I mean, I'm not
Dude,
sure it should be.
I have a quick question. I just have to throw this out there. when Batman gets in there and those guys that are all dressed up like the insane clown posse,
Yeah.
and he asks him like who, like he just boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
boom, and
yeah,
like
yeah.
wailing on that guy.
Yeah.
I actually got goosebumps because I was like, that's kind of like that
Yeah.
Batman warehouse scene.
Angry.
Like
yeah, angry.
he was, and then he stood up and he's like, "I'm vengeance." Like
Yeah,
not in a I'm vengeance. He
Right.
didn't do it like that. It was I'm vengeance.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that was just his voice.
Yep.
I'm
yep.
coming at you, and let's go.
Yeah.
And it was like,
And that's-
holy.
That's the thing I like too is, and that's why I still always think Michael Keaton is the best Batman, because the subtlety, just the nuance, the slight, just the slight distinction between Bruce Wayne and Batman, that slightly lower octave, but not Bale. Because, and again, I'm not knocking Bale, because Bale was a really good Batman. He really was. Let's not say he, I mean, honestly, for the most part, most of the guys who have played Batman, I've liked to some varying degree.
Clooney?
Clooney, no. And Val Kilmer was okay.
The movie was terrible.
At best.
The movie was terrible, but like, yeah.
Yeah. Clooney, no.
Both of those movies are they were not good movies. It's just,
right.
And they were really getting goofy with them.
Yeah. And I don't know, something about Clooney's face in the mask too just didn't look right. Kilmer was, I actually believe that if the script had been good and it hadn't been such a goofball of a movie, I think Kilmer could have actually pulled off a decent Batman. But yeah, I mean,
he does make
like
a better bad guy though.
To varying degrees. If you want to talk about the top three, Keaton, Affleck, Bale, I mean, to varying degrees, I've liked all of them. Keaton the most, because I think Keaton is the most
who Val Kilmer could have made? He could have been a really good Riddler.
Sure, probably, yeah.
Because he plays a bad guy really well.
The way he played Kunt, yeah, I mean... Yeah,
but he plays a villain very well.
By the way, I think they're doing a Magruder show, I think.
A MacGruber?
MacGruber, yeah, sorry, MacGruber, yeah. I think they're doing a MacGruber show.
Where?
I thought I read that somewhere. I don't know. Take a look, though. But it's with Will Forte and everything, so... Yeah, look that up. But I'm pretty sure they're doing that. Yeah, but going back to the Batman.
Look that up.
So I know we're going to rank all of these each, right? At the end, aren't we going to rank our top? Sorry, I won't say where I have the Batman ranked, but it's high. Let's put it that way. So I was really impressed. Loved that trailer. I'm probably going to watch it again today a few more times. I'm off today, so what the hell? I might watch it a few more times and just kind of try and get it all in there and see if there were some other things I missed watching it the first couple times around. But yeah, great weekend with the DC fandom. So are you looking up the MacGruber thing?
Uh-huh.
Sorry, what does it say? I forgot.
MacGruber, Will Forte comedy picked up to series by Peacock. By NBC? Okay. Like the Peacock app
Peacock
thing?
App.
Ryan Phillippe and Kristen Wiig poised to join.
Yeah, that's great. I wish
I'm gonna have to get the Peacock.
I know. I wish they could bring Kilmer back, but obviously the way he went at the end of the movie, I don't see that happening. But hey, you never know. It's movies and TV and comics in a sense, so why not? Why not?
I love
maybe
MacGruber.
Flashbacks. Maybe like Kunt. Maybe they could have Kunt in
if
flashbacks.
You don't love MacGruber.
God,
we can't be friends.
MacGruber's great.
All right, so let's rate these movies real quick. I mean, we've been on this for quite some time, but let's go. You give me
5.
Yeah. Go backwards. Go 5 to from least to best. We'll each do ours. You go 5. I'll do 5.
I'm basically basing it on the trailer, but Black Adam is my 5.
Mine too, because you didn't get a lot.
You didn't get a lot.
Yeah. All right. Number 4.
Suicide Squad. And for the similar reasons, because it was basically just like a baseball card lineup of here's this character, here's this character, here's this character, no footage. So
right, yes.
That's my 4.
I'm gonna say 4 for that as well. Not because of that, just because I watched the behind the scenes stuff footage too, and I do think it's gonna be a good movie though. I do think it's gonna be good.
Yep.
What about number 3?
So this is where it gets tough for me, because 1 through 3 are, to me, not all, I don't want to say equal, but they're all really good. I'm going to go Wonder Woman 84, but with the caveat that it could have easily been 2 or 1.
See, for me, it could have been either 4 or 3.
Okay.
So I liked it, but I can't say that I love it. Like, just because I want to see Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. Because because you know how I am with villains. If you have a good villain, that's why this Batman trailer looks so good, because the villain is mysterious and looks evil.
Well,
Evil AF.
if you go back to almost any great DC, even in their original movies, like even when Christopher Reeve, the greatest superhero, depiction of any superhero ever, even Gene Hackman is an unbelievable Lex Luthor. It's great. It's always the villain. Mm-hmm. Jack Nicholson is what makes Batman 1989 such an incredible movie. I mean, Keaton's a great Batman, but Jack as the Joker is wild. So
Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman.
Yeah. Oh, she was really good in that. Super.
She was really good in that. She really dialed in that Catwoman vibe.
She did.
So you have that, and that's where I have Wonder Woman 84 as well. Yeah. I think we might be the same here.
No, I don't think so.
What do you got number 2?
I've got the Batman at number 2.
Okay, yeah, we're definitely not.
And again, this is where any of these three for me, those top 3 could have been interchangeable. But I put the Batman at number 2 just because of how excited I am for number 1. So.
Right. So I am excited for the Justice League, but because I have such a sour taste in my mouth from the actual Justice League, I'm still not sold it's going to be a great movie. I think it's going to be different, but I just don't know where it's headed. I know that, seeing Darkseid and seeing the new Steppenwolf and seeing, Batman show up in that scene with Lois Lane and Martha and, having all these different, seeing the black suit and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so happy for that.
The little, quick little pep talk by Batman at the end. Like, there is so many, Flash saving that girl. Like, there's so many different scenes that you're looking forward to seeing and how this was playing out in his mind. Because whether you like it or not, I think that, and I know you don't agree with this, but I think Man of Steel is the greatest Superman story that's been done on film ever. That is almost a 10 out of 10 for me. That's how good that movie is.
I don't know. It depends on what you mean by that. I mean, do you think it's the greatest Superman movie ever?
100%.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't agree with that.
I 100%. I think it is.
But I love the movie, and I loved it when I saw it.
That movie for me had grown from like a 7.5 out of 10, and the more I watch it, and the more I see, and the more I get,
it's a good movie.
It's probably a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
That movie got very unfair. I believe that movie.
There's only one superhero movie that I've ever rated a 10 out of 10, and that was The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger's performance in that is tremendous. You're not alone. And Batman is amazing in that. He's very good in that movie, and Heath Ledger just stole the show. And that's saying something when you have Christian Bale as your lead. I'm
so impartial to Superman 2, specifically the Richard Donner cut, which is kind of hokey in a lot of ways too. But again, when you grow up on Christopher Reeve as Superman, it's hard. It's hard to. He's so I will always see, no matter what, I will always see Christopher Reeve as Superman, no matter what. Yeah. And nothing will shake that. Nothing will ever change that. I believe, like Michael Keaton, he was just the perfect combination of both characters, and and I still, if this comic book thing had just timed itself right, if you could have just had Reeve and Keaton together in a Justice League-esque type of movie, man.
They never thought it was going to be that big. Like
I know
they never really. But yeah, it was.
They never thought of universes like that. They always just thought of
individual movies. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Justice League Snyder Cut, but it is number 2 for me, and of course number 1 for me is the Batman, because that movie I have high expectations. I have, because I'm hoping that this is finally, we're gonna get what we need from a Batman film. And I will say, Christopher Nolan's versions, 1 and 2, I do not like the third one at all.
See, I love the third one. The Dark Knight Rises is actually my favorite.
Oh, I hate that movie. That movie is it drives me crazy.
I love, and this is where
But I do think Anne Hathaway did a good job as Catwoman.
She did. And I just love I love stories of older, more broken down superheroes having to.
I don't mind that.
Having to fight uphill.
I don't mind that, but.
And I love the comeback story. Like those, I loved the whole scene of him in the pit, having to recuperate, having to get not just physically but mentally tough. Yeah, knowing that he had to match the feat of this child who made the climb.
My biggest problem with all that, though, is you shouldn't need subtitles. Like the muffled back and forth between them and when they're talking is so garbled that the story, you almost have to watch it more than once or twice just to kind of figure out what they're saying all the time. Because he's like, and he's like, you can't really understand either one of them. So when they're going back and forth, and then on top of that, their fight scenes were so slow and sloppy. It wasn't a Bane versus Batman.
Why are you here? I was talking to you.
But I do think Hardy played an amazing Bane. I just wish that you could understand him a little better and that he didn't sound quite as goofy.
Behind you stands a symbol of oppression.
Yeah.
Black State Prison.
Well, my favorite line is still the one from the beginning.
Perhaps he's wondering why somebody would shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane.
I still love that one.
But there's just so many holes in the movie, and there's just so many. It's just a sloppy movie, and you could tell that Christopher Nolan kind of gotten rushed through that a little bit. Because of the whole Heath Ledger issue, because they had to come up with a whole new script and a whole new story and everything like that. And you could tell, in my opinion.
I love that old West kind of mentality where it's okay, the sheriff's going for his last ride. He's kind of like the last outlaw thing. And that's how that Christian Bale Batman felt.
I get it.
Broken down, older, beaten up.
But you see
been on a break for 7 years, I mean.
But when you see them come back, they usually have that one last hurrah,
And he did.
I'm as good as I once was. But he wasn't. He was slow. He was sloppy.
Oh, that fight scene though
was horrible.
I loved that fight scene at the end with him and Bane.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Oh, I loved it.
Everything was telegraphed.
I loved it.
You could tell that everything was telegraphed. It was very poorly constructed.
See, I liked it. That did a lot for me emotionally because I and that iconic scene. I think I told you and I told Tim Callahan, our friend of the program here, that I believe one of the most iconic scenes in a movie. And if I had space on my wall somewhere, I would actually put it on a canvas. Is that scene just before they fight, where it's snowing. If you recall, it was snowing in that scene, and Batman is up on the stairs. He's up on the steps and he's looking down on Bane, and he's got that menacing look on his face, this time it's gonna be me. And he's just that shot, the way it was shot, and it kind of, they hold it for a second. They hold it just long enough for that scene of Bane kind of looking up at Batman, and Batman's looking down on him, and he's kind of got his arms to his side, and he's ready. He's ready to go. He's mentally and physically prepared for what he knows is going to be.
But he wasn't mentally prepared, because he never is mentally prepared. That Batman was not the smartest Batman. He was very but he had that mentality. He's like, he had will. He had will.
Right, he had
but
will.
he didn't have the brains. And that's the problem.
If you recall, that was the thing. Michael, Alfred would say to him, how are you going to fight this guy? And he would say, I'll fight harder. I always do. That. I loved that. I loved that sort of, I will reach down for something deep that maybe you don't think I have.
Yeah, no. See, and that's Batman might say that, but he'd also say, I'll work harder and I'll work smarter. That's the problem. But he doesn't say that.
That's the Batfleck Batman.
Right.
Which is why I think you like that Batman so much, because he was smart.
Well,
Batman. He was smart man.
Batman's supposed to be.
He is.
He's supposed to be the greatest detective who ever lived.
Yeah.
And on top of that.
And a martial arts master.
He's basically what I say. He's basically Sherlock Holmes meets Bruce Lee, in film.
Yeah, kind of.
Like that's what he's supposed to be, like unstoppable martial artist, and on top of that, smarter than everybody that he comes across.
See, and I
always has multiple backup plans.
I just like the guy. I mean, aside from liking Superman,
that's the only way you can. That's the only way you can defeat these.
I know,
otherworldly humans, and
that's why, like in my superheroes, especially ones that are human, and Bruce Wayne is the epitome of just a human being. I love the guys who have to find that will where it's sometimes not there. Yeah. You know, Superman's an alien. He's a god. Amazon, Wonder Woman's an Amazon, a god. A lot of these superhero characters that we fall in love with, they all have these supernatural abilities.
That's where the smarts comes in.
And that's why when your superhero is a human, like Batman is, and because I love Batman, even though Superman's my favorite, Batman's my number 2. And the thing I've always loved about Batman is that he is human, and he has disadvantages that gods don't. But I also love the human will of the fighter, just the fight that's sometimes inside of a person that where you have to dig deeper. And especially as you get older and you have to dig even more deeply to find that thing that you don't have anymore, that you didn't have as a younger Batman. That's why I like Dark Knight Rises so much, because it was older, smarter, but an older Batman having to really will himself one more time to, through what was probably his most difficult challenge, even though Heath Ledger as the Joker was really probably the more, because Heath Ledger was just crazy and there's really nothing you could do to come back crazy.
For it, yeah.
Bane had a plan and there was a whole, and he was actually not even the main guy.
Right.
It was Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that whole series though, that Nolan series, the Dark Knight series, I still think was a great 1, 2, and 3. It really was.
Yeah. It was left a little sour taste in my mouth, but the first 2 movies are familiar.
For me, it went out with a bang because I loved it, and I loved the ending too, and just where. Actually, the one thing that bothers me most is that
great villains in each one.
The one thing that bugged me the most about the ending of Dark Knight Rises is it really made me want a 4th installment to see him.
Yeah. And they had to leave the door open, right?
Him and Robin, right? And they did. They did. I mean, they
left it open, but
it'll never happen. But
you don't see Bale going to be coming in this universe. You see Keaton and Affleck coming in, but no Bale.
Hey, who cares? Well, listen, who cares? As long as they got Keaton, doesn't matter.
All right, so let's move on. We've talked about the movies a lot. It's a thing that we both enjoy quite a bit, and we can't.
Can I just say one more thing?
I have one other question about this too, but go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say very briefly, this is why I make my case for Keaton as the best Batman too. Not just because I think he played the best combination of the two, but of any of the people, if you look, just going back historically, if any of the people who were ever cast for that role, who would have thought that Michael Keaton, a comedian by trade, could have possibly, if you think about what would have been the most uphill climb for an actor going into a role, it's got to be Michael Keaton as Batman. I even remember at the time of the casting thinking, and I was only 12 years old, thinking like, Mr. Mom is going to be Bruce Wayne and Batman? Mr. Mom? Okay. And look how it turned out.
Yeah.
That's good. All I got. That's another thing that make that. See, I think that helps his case, because if you look at guys, Affleck, you can say whatever you want about Affleck. The guy can act, and he basically looks like Bruce Wayne. Okay, Christian Bale, again, same kind of thing. Great actor, could play Bruce Wayne in his sleep, and then beyond that, you start to get into the the Kilmers and the Clooneys. But Keaton, of those three, definitely had the bigger, on paper anyway, biggest climb. And even I would even include Pattinson in that group too, because Pattinson, with the brooding aspect, especially with all the vampire shit that he's played, let's be honest, he'll probably be a really good Batman.
Well, he's done a lot of good stuff since then. So
no,
he's got acting chops. So they just didn't have to use it very much in those vampire
But the
movies.
deck was definitely piled against Keaton as far as coming from where this guy comes from.
Well, I mean, look at the beating that Affleck took before he started.
He did. Yeah. And I remember being on his side.
Yeah. I was on his side. I started off like, I can't believe this. And then I was like, you know what? The movies that he's done with, The Town and then he had that other one. I can't remember what it's called right now, where he starred in it. It was all about the bombing. I can't remember what it's called, but there was a few movies that he had done back to back and critically acclaimed.
He played Jack Ryan. I mean, he's been an action star.
Yeah, but didn't play it well.
Like, he's not Harrison Ford, but
right. So I was optimistic with his films leading up to that movie, so I was excited. I was excited after that, and before the movie started, I thought he was going to be a good version, and I loved the way that his look, his build, the dimpled chin, everything about it looked like Batman and Bruce Wayne. So I think he did a great job. All right, so as we move forward in this movie universe, who do you think is more set to be? Who's got more stuff coming out that you're more excited about, DC or Marvel?
Oh, definitely DC. But I'm partial because I've always been a DC fan anyway. But and I've seen the Marvel.
Do you think that Marvel or DC, which one's more set to be better going forward from right here?
Well, set to be better versus which am I looking forward to? Mm-hmm. Those are different answers. Because I think the big advantage that Marvel has always had is Kevin Feige, because he's the straw, he's the tie that binds, he's the straw that stirs the drink, he's the guy that keeps it all together. And I feel like as long
dropped
as
the ball on a lot of them though.
Yeah, no, I know they haven't all been home runs, but for the most part, he's tied that universe together really well.
And now he has more pieces than ever with all the Fox movies coming in.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy.
Are you going to keep the same formula and just keep beating people over the head with it until they get sick of it? Because I am a little, not extremely sick of it, but I'm not as excited to see them.
I guess if I would say, I'm trying to look at this like objectively as far as that answer goes. For my own personal preference, of course, I'm way more excited about DC because I think
that's what I'm saying. Who do you think is set up better to go from right here forward?
Well, again, okay. I still think the answer to that is Marvel because that's, to me, they're kind of different questions. Like, which one am I more excited for? Of course, DC. Which one do I think is still set up better for success? Probably still Marvel, just based on history. I'm basing it on history because let's be honest, DC has been very disjointed in the past, and that's what's hurt them.
Right, and I think that's why that DC's set up better to go forward because they're a wild card right now. And if they come out with a good film to start, people are going to be like, "Ooh, okay, that's great. Let's see the next one." And if they come out and have another good one, ooh.
I'm going by historical consistency, and that's why I would say
Wonder Woman and Aquaman have set them up in a good spot, and we don't have a lot of stories about them. We have a lot of stories about Thor, a lot of stories about Guardians of the Galaxy, a lot of stories about Spider-Man, a lot of stories like
You're right. It's a more saturated pool for sure. No doubt about that.
And granted, they are going to be bringing in the Fantastic Four. They're going to be bringing in X-Men. They're going to be bringing all these things in.
You could argue that Batman's very saturated. But that being said, this is a completely new take with a completely new guy.
Like the Iron Man series. Like Iron Man 1, great. Iron Man 2, not so great. Iron Man 3, not so great. Him in all of the Avengers movies, awesome. Like it's kind of up and down. Like you get a great Keaton movie, an okay Keaton movie, couple of crap movies, and then you come back and you have two great Bale movies. Then you have I'll just say an okay Bale movie, and then you go from there to awesome with Batman versus Superman, and then you go to the Justice League where it's like and you have Man of Steel, awesome, and Batman versus Superman, pretty good in most, I think, in a lot of people's minds, and then Justice League, horrible, and then you just have Wonder Woman, people loved it. Aquaman, most people liked it. I didn't love it, but most people liked it. And then now you're kind of stuck with the Snyder Cut. Oh, maybe that'll lift us back up. Now, a new Batman movie, Suicide Squad, the original one, people didn't like it. This next one, people are kind of excited for it because it has James Gunn attached. So, there's so much, there is a lot of saturation as far as the Batman stuff go, but there's not been, you haven't gotten what you've wanted. And there's so many different iterations of Batman that you could get.
Really briefly with the Batman, please don't go too deep into the origin story. I
don't think
know.
they are.
Okay, good. Just pick up he's already Batman.
I think you might get a Smith, but I think you're going to see more of him. Like,
I don't need to see him I don't need to see him falling down a well or being in a cave or his parents getting shot. And I don't.
You might see a glimpse of a shot, like, or something like that, but maybe like in the pre-credits. You know, like while you're introducing stuff.
Fine.
They might have that and him wake up or something. I don't know. I'm just like him wake up and like now it's go time.
Yeah. Now I do think though, as far as the Batfleck version of that, I'm okay with it a little bit because Thomas Wayne was portrayed by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and I would like to see more of him. So if that makes its way into additional movies, it could in Flashpoint, actually. That's definitely possible. So, yeah, but listen, bottom line, as far as who I'm more excited for, DC by a long shot.
A lot of movie talk.
By a long shot.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm excited for it. I do think that they're probably set up a little bit better, but that could change with the next two movies that we get. Like if Wonder Woman 84 falls flat, and then that's going to be bad. If Wonder Woman 84 falls flat, that's going to be horrible.
I have supreme confidence that movie will not fall on its face.
I think it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be better than the last one, though.
I think there's potential.
I hope so.
I think there's potential for it.
I'm just not sold on Kristen Wiig.
I'm so curious as to how Chris Pine is back, even though I think I sort of know how. But I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. All right, let's get into it. We haven't talked sports at all today. Let's get into the NFL. 77 positive tests that were actually negative. That's a lot of false positives. And the BioReference Lab
in New Jersey
is in a company that has several throughout the country. And the particular lab that's in question was the one in New Jersey. And there are, a lot of teams that were really affected, like the Jets were really affected. The Bills had Josh Allen. They thought he was positive, but he wasn't. That's a big deal for your quarterback if he has to miss time going into the season. I still don't know if they're going to be able to play, like particularly a full season. But regardless,
let me tell you, this season, I don't know if it'll finish. It's starting.
Oh, it's starting.
There's nothing stopping that.
It's starting, but it could go off the rails real fast.
It could, but there's nothing keeping that locomotive from going at the beginning. But yes, you're right. It could, because it is the sport that's, most set up for just an epic fail.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
It's going to come down to player responsibility. That's really what it's going to come down to, is can the players and coaches be responsible for themselves the second they walk out of stadiums and walk out of training camps? I can tell you, I've been watching Hard Knocks for a couple of weeks so far, and there have been very, very few positive tests. Guys are doing the right things for the most part. So
we'll see. We'll see as soon as they start taking a beating. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because when you start taking a beating, you need to unload some of that steam. Yeah. And
I hear you.
Those trips to the clubs that they like to go to.
Yeah.
To release some of that steam, not going to be happening. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, regardless, it started. They had a bunch of positive tests. There's a lot of issues with this. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens when teams start playing against other teams, and how this all plays out.
It's a good litmus test, though, for in terms of how they'll handle it in the regular season, being able to take those positives and double down on them to ensure that they actually are, if they were just false.
Right.
So, and they did a good job of very quickly turning that around and saying, nope, wait, these were not. These were not. So,
Sure.
Other quick news in the NFL: Earl Thomas was cut by the Ravens for having a fight with one of his teammates that was, I guess, not great, and they said, no, we're going to have a pretty low,
which is weird because it
must
have been a pretty brutal fight, because it seems like stuff like that would happen all the time back in the day.
Earl Thomas is a future Hall of Famer, so
stuff like that would happen all the time, and
he's going to get picked up. He's going to get picked up by somebody.
Oh yeah, probably the Patriots.
Probably. I don't know. Part of me wonders, though, how much the Patriots really want to win this year. There's a lot of feeling
they don't have to win this year. They could just be like, just pretend like you're injured.
Yeah,
we're not going to have a full season anyway.
Although I know getting Cam, it'll be interesting. I tell you, that Week 1 matchup, Dolphins at Patriots, it's fascinating to me, because theoretically they're two pretty bad teams.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think the Dolphins are going to be much improved. Of course, when I say much improved, I mean like 7-9 to 8-8.
Yeah.
But the Patriots they are such a wild card to me. I have just no idea what that team is going to be. Even with Cam Newton, I would say actually with Cam Newton, it's really even more confusing because I just don't know. That's such a Tom Brady to Cam Newton is such a it's night and day, I mean, and the team itself was just dismantled. I mean, really dismantled when you think about it. I mean, other than Julian Edelman and James White coming back, I mean, Brady is gone. Gronk is gone. Kyle Van Noy is gone. I mean, it's a totally different team. The only constant now is Belichick.
Right.
And Edelman, I guess. I mean, it's weird. That's a weird team. And the Patriots, I mean, honestly, I don't know what would be more surprising if the Patriots came in first or dead last. I'm not sure what would be more surprising.
Yeah,
it's hard to say.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this whole thing plays out with all the.
So, anyways, Earl Thomas is out there for the taking if somebody wants him.
Speaking of the Dolphins, Patriots. Yeah, like having fans up to 13,000.
Okay, yeah. So here's the deal with the NFL. They are very much leaving it up to. It's kind of based on municipalities, really. I mean, there's not just a set thing. The NFL is not outright saying you can have fans or you can't have fans.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically saying at your leisure, at your judgment, at your discretion. Now, a lot of plans had to be, there were every stadium, every team, every organization really had to submit basically to the NFL, not just to the NFL. I think it was maybe even higher than that, but they basically had to submit a plan to say, here's how we will handle in stadium, access, and here's how we would go about it. Some got approved, some did not. There are a handful of teams right now that will allow fans. I know off the top of my head, Chiefs, Dolphins, Cowboys are going to allow fans. And I know there's at least a couple others. Jacksonville, I think, is in there. I'm not sure. I don't think the Jets or the Giants or the Patriots, certainly not the Bills, and that's going to come into play in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Vikings are. I'm not sure. Maybe the Panthers. I don't know. But bottom line is, so anyways, the Dolphins just announced today that they are going to allow, at least for the home opener on September 20th, they are going to allow up to 13,000 fans, which is roughly a fifth. That's probably 20% of their capacity. Hard Rock Stadium actually doesn't hold that many. I think it's in the high 60s, low 70s, so it's not like a huge stadium. I know the Kansas City Chiefs are going to allow approximately 22% capacity, so almost a quarter. Now, and that stadium's a little bigger. That's probably about 16,000 fans. So the Dolphins are going to allow about 13,000. Sean McDermott, the Bills head coach, was informed about, he was asked about this today, and the Bills are obviously a team that is not going to be allowing fans in. And his comment was, I quote 4 words, I think it's ridiculous. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Let's be honest. If one team's got 13 to 16,000 fans in the stands, that is more of a home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Though you'd be surprised the amount of noise that amount of people can make. Hell, you could have 5,000 and still make a decent amount of noise.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to, and also, even though it's a more limited amount of fans, I would say just the fact that these people can even get into the stadium, it's probably going to make them even more ravenous for football than they ever were before, because we're in such a different, universe right now, that they're going to be even more jacked up. Mm-hmm. And they're going to probably be louder, albeit through masks, but I think they're going to be louder. And I think fans are really going to be into it. And, because of the configuration, the way they're going to do it, they're going to obviously have fans very spread out throughout the stadium. It's not like they're going to all be in one spot. You're going to have them spread out. Listen, I don't know where I come at on this. I'm kind of two minds.
I know where I come at it.
Like I feel in some ways like McDermott's right. Like it's sort of a disadvantage. Like, hold on a second.
I don't care about the disadvantage. You're just putting a lot of people at risk.
I'll get to that in a second. I want to focus more just on the fan aspect first. Just the disadvantage versus the advantage. In some ways, I agree with him. Like, wait a minute. We can't have fans, but I have to go on the road, play in that stadium, and they're going to have 15,000 to 16,000 fans. How's that fair? That's clearly a home field advantage. They're going to come into our house. There's no home field advantage at all. There's nothing other than us piping in some fan noise. Like if we, get a first down or score or something like that, middling noise when we kick a field goal or some shit. I mean, it's not versus they're going to go there, they're going to score, and they're going to get real response in real time from actual human beings. So I get
you won't have any of this year, though. You won't have any.
No, you will not. But then on the other side, I kind of am like, listen, if they feel like they can do it safely, go for it. Now, here's the problem. I don't really think they can do it safely. I just don't. I don't care.
The fact that you can test with no temperature, you can test with no symptoms whatsoever, but still be carrying it for 14 days.
Again, 40% of carriers are asymptomatic, which means there is zero doubt that if you are allowing 16,000 people into your stadium, there's going to be a good chunk of people in there that have it. There's just no doubt. I mean, I'm sorry. You can't even question it. And I know that the stadiums will do everything protocol-wise, proper protocol to ensure that when they're coming in, they're all standing 6 feet apart. They're scanning their temperatures as they come in. They're, and they're going to obviously have it very spread out throughout the stadium. Listen, you can't stop human interaction.
What are they doing with alcohol? They're not going to allow it?
Oh, they're serving. I mean, the Chiefs opened up. So the Chiefs had a preseason camp that was open up to 2,000 fans. I think it was this weekend. And they were there. They were making noise, and the players were playing to the crowd and getting.
So it's going to be easier to make sure that people.
But the bottom line is, they all were able to get concessions, and they said, look, the whole thing is you have to wear your mask unless you're eating. Well, guess what? When you're at a fucking football or baseball game or hockey or basketball or soccer or baseball, whatever, you're eating most of the time. You're putting something in your mouth most of the time, whether it's a hot dog or a beer. I mean. There's the title of your sex tape, huh? Putting something in your mouth most of the time. But it's true. I mean, let's be honest, right? When you're there, I mean, imagine if you took a kid to a sporting event. All kids want to do at sporting events is fucking eat. Mm-hmm. They want cotton candy. They want popcorn. They want fucking hot dogs. They want ice cream. They want all that shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, fucking lemon ices. They want.
Jimmy, stop eating and put on your mask.
Fucking burgers and fries, churros. I mean, come on, dude. It's just a nonstop buffet. Mm-hmm. So that means a kid, for the most part, if you're dumb enough to bring one of your kids, they're going to want to eat most of the time.
Look, adults do too. They want to eat the whole time too, either that or drink. So nothing like lowering your immune system.
These are crazy and wild, honestly, times. And I don't know. Again, there's part of me that thinks it's a really dumb fucking idea.
Okay, over under. I want this. I want it right now. Over under. Now, when do you think the NFL season gets canceled? What week?
Maybe I'm going to go out on a limb here. You know what? I was going to say I don't think it's going to get canceled at all, but there's just, I don't know.
The way it is right now.
It's just going to take one outbreak on one team for them to maybe shut it down, because that really puts in flux like the entire, it's not like baseball where you can just take a few games off,
The way it's set right now, though, fans coming in to certain stadiums.
Week 7.
Okay. I say week 6.
Okay.
I say it's canceled week 6.
Okay.
So we have that. I have week 6. You say week 7.
Yeah.
I think because it takes a couple weeks to kind of gather all the data.
Right.
And with the fans, and then what they'll do is they'll take the fans out of the stadiums.
Yep.
That'll be the first thing. And then, unfortunately, hopefully nobody dies.
Then you'll just get that. Well, we want to try to will ourselves through it, and you're going to just come to
the
the
NFL
realization.
NFL will do something stupid too. They're like, oh, well, we're going to take away alcohol, but we're still going to leave fans in. They're going to do something stupid like that. They do a lot of stupid things.
What they need to do is, I would have said is, see, it's tough though, because like you're going to be into. I was going to say I just would not have allowed concessions, period. But let's be honest, like people got to be able to drink water.
Yeah.
You're going to watch a football game, especially in the early months where it's hot. Yeah. I mean, especially in Florida.
So it's hot in Miami.
My God, you could die.
Muy caliente.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I won't lie to you. I'm happy that the Dolphins will be able to have fans there. It'll give them an advantage, but is it the smart thing to do? Probably
it also can give them a disadvantage if they start making some dumb plays and get booed by their own fans.
Well, that would be a very Dolphin fan thing to do. So, I mean, usually
you didn't go for it on 4th and down and inches. Boo!
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I will tell you this. The Dolphins are definitely going to get 13,000 fans for as long as they will allow that every week. That will happen. And that will be an advantage for them. Also, the heat is an advantage for them. It always has been. Not when the team has been as bad as they are now, but in years past when they were a good team, that was always a big advantage, especially in the first quarter of the season. After that, it kind of, subsides a little. When you get into like the October, November months, it's not as hot down there. But I don't know, man. It just reminds me of like Fogarty, man. I see a bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way.
It's not looking great.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of sports,
I don't know, man.
MLB, more games postponed.
Yeah.
Another week, another postponements.
Yeah.
Yankees Mets gets postponed.
And boy, they needed that after the very sobering sweep from Tampa.
Yeah.
Now look, here we are again, Yankee fans, in the same spot that we were last year. Injuries. That's the story. That is their
Judge is supposed to be 100% healthy though.
Judge is going to be playing tomorrow.
But LeMahieu and then Torres.
LeMahieu. Yep. And
Glaber.
Stan, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you're still – this has been their theme. And listen, my brother and I were having this conversation, I think, on Saturday about their bullpen. Their bullpen is interesting because, like, if you look at it on paper, just the names, you think, that's good. That's good. That's good relief corps, right? But then every time one of them pitches and they are individually standing out there, you're like, do I really trust this guy in this spot? For the most part, you're like, no, kind of don't. I don't trust Zach Britton in a big spot. I definitely don't trust Chapman in a big spot, and I really can't stand Adam Ottavino anymore. The self-professed I would strike Babe Ruth out every time guy, who I've never been a fan of just because of that quote, one. And two, that's just a lie. I mean, sorry, Babe Ruth would have fucking taken you deep every time. Adam Ottavino, give me a break. Give me a break. Now, look, this is still a good Yankee team, but I do question whether or not, even at full health, especially with this pitching staff, are they actually built for postseason play? I'm not sure. I mean, beyond Garrett Cole, are they really built? Think about it. If you're a Yankee fan, ask yourself, look closely at this team. Are they actually really built well for October baseball? I don't know. I don't know you can definitively say that.
I think they are.
We'll see. I mean, they're still going to be a playoff team, especially now that half the damn league is in. But I
think the Yankees get in. I still think that they're the favorites to get in through the American League to the World Series.
Well, I mean, if you look at the rest of the American League, I mean, that might not be going. Although the Astros suddenly got hot. They ran off like 8 wins in a row at one point. You know,
They'll start getting beamed again soon.
Although Altuve's like not even hitting his weight, which I think is just great. Because anything bad that happens to that guy, I have no problem with.
Having a hard time handling the pressure.
Him and Carlos Correa. Well, listen, it's a different world when you don't know what pitch is coming. It really is. You know what? I want to just a little bit of a bitter diatribe here towards Houston fans. They are every bit Patriot fans. They are unaccountable fuck faces. They are real assholes. They really are. Astros fans are, in the Patriot way, pieces of shit. They have made every excuse. All I ever see is that stupid meme of like them clutching a World Series trophy and like I sleep just fine at like somebody's holding a World Series trophy and sleeping and it's like, oh, I sleep just fine at night. They don't care. They don't care. Listen, I'm going to say this again. For people like that who if they try and compartmentalize sports and look at it simply within the vacuum of what they perceive it to be, which is trivial in sports. Yeah. And if you say cheating in sports is completely fine, if you're not doing it, you're not trying kind of thing. Again, I want to make this plea to those people, not just Houston Astros or Patriot fans. You can be a fan of any team. If you're okay, if you accept that behavior and you accept it as the norm, I'm just going to ask you again, kindly, and as delicately and nicely as possible, please do not have children. Don't reproduce. Don't bring additional human beings into this world because your children will be rat fuck faces just like you. And we don't need any more monsters roaming the quiet countryside. We have quite enough as it is. Keep your fucking sperm in your cock. Do not deposit it into your wife or your girlfriend. Please don't do it. Because we don't need people like that out there. We have plenty of that already. If you're a good person and you say, hey, you know what? I'm a Houston Astros fan, but I'm really not fucking proud of the way that we went about this. You may deposit your sperm into your wife. But if you're the other, please don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. We don't need that. We don't need that. There's enough bad in the world already. You're just going to bring another demon child into existence. And we've got plenty of those already. Look at the Republican Party. The whole lot of them. And I'm a Republican. See, like that right there. That's accountability. I'm a Republican, and I'm telling you right now that party is a disgraceful, shameful, disgusting bunch of blood-sucking vampires. And that's not the Republican Party I know or grew up with or was very proud to vote for many, many years. No. They're a bunch of shameless, spineless cowards. So if I can tell you that as a registered Republican, as a man who in his life has never voted anything but Republican, even 4 years ago when I didn't vote for Trump and I didn't vote for Hillary and I wrote a vote in for a Republican, I'm telling you, accountability goes a really long way in life. I find that accountability, whether it's on a man or a woman or anybody, is really a sexy trait. It really is. It's very attractive. So if you're an Astros fan, just say, yeah, we did it. But there's an asterisk next to it. No doubt about it. Can't take it from us because they didn't take it from us. And am I glad we won it? Yes. Am I proud of the way we did it? No, not at all. And listen, I'll give you my example from my end as a Yankee fan. Going back into the late 90s and the early 2000s, all those championships they won, in my opinion, in some way, shape, or form, and I don't go by that whole thing of, well, every team was doing, every team had somebody who was doing steroids. That doesn't matter. If there were players on those Yankees teams that were doing that, and that helped them win any of those World Series, which it probably did, especially A-Rod in 2009, because he had a huge postseason that year. Not a great World Series, a decent World Series, but he had big hits in that World Series. Yeah, to me, those are tarnished titles in some way. The Red Sox in 2018, whether you want to admit it or not, that's a tarnished title. certainly the Astros in 2017 and anything that the Astros did last year all the way up to Game 7 of the World Series was completely tarnished. And thank God they didn't win. Thank God the Washington Nationals won. That was maybe proof that there actually is a God. Because that would have been a tough pill to swallow. But, the Patriots doing what they did, just accept that it was horrible what the teams did and move on. I could at least live with that. I can live with that. If you're a fan and you can say, yeah, we got the championship. I don't love the way we went about it. But I could at least live with that. But if you are out there and you are so abrasive and just defiant and just completely dismissive of what actually happened, I got a problem with that. That is not you having a good grasp of reality. And I do think that in a weird way that can carry over into real life. And that's why you need to keep your penis in your pants. So there's that.
Whew. All right. So
do you want to do a Karen of the week? I know I sent you something.
We can. I just wanted to, I was going to touch on the NBA real quick, just talking about LeBron, how he'd been kind of having a hard couple of games, but he stepped up pretty big. Third game, 38 points. I think he might have had a triple double. I watched that game. I've been trying to keep it on in the background while I'm doing some other things. That Houston Rockets are playing pretty decently. I think they're up 2-1.
They're up 2-1.
Harden scored. I think he had 38 points as well. You have Donovan Mitchell, who he torched it with 51. Luka Doncic, who's he is a beast. So skillful. He's got so many skills. And
Avs are set up good for long-term success if they can keep Porzingis in the picture. I like the two of them together, and maybe if they can get one other guy.
It'll be interesting to see how this, as this kind of all these weaker teams kind of fall off.
Did you see that thing over the weekend where what was it during the? It might have been Game 3. Was it Montrezl Harrell hit that shot over Doncic, and as he was backing, play defense, he called him a bitch-ass white boy.
Yeah. And a lot of fans, a lot of other players and other people like that came out and said, if this was the roles reversed, Doncic would have been kicked out of the league. He would have been suspended, and he would have had money taken away from him. That would not have flown. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Here's what I would say to somebody who had a real problem with that. Why not just look at it this way? If it really upsets you and you want to find a way to sort of justify it or just to to tolerate it or accept it, here's what I would say. Montrezl Harrell is a nice little player who could not even lace Luka Doncic's shoes. Okay? Think of it that way. He's a fucking nobody. He's a good player, but in my opinion, he's a good player. No, he's a good player. I think he averages. He maybe average 18 points. I don't know. He's a good player. He's not Luka Doncic. Come on.
He's not a franchise guy.
He's talking trash to a guy who was better than him. Who gives a shit?
He's a second scorer on a good team. A second scorer on a bad team, a third scorer on a good team.
But listen, and I struggle with that whole thing too, because that just goes back to the whole. It's like that whole whataboutism thing. It's like, okay, well, what about if the roles were reversed? And that's
you probably wouldn't even heard anything about it if there were fans in the stadium, because you wouldn't have been able to hear it.
That's probably true. Yeah, that's probably true.
I do think he should be in trouble. I mean, it's the culture that we're in right now. You have to put the reverse. It's not as bad.
It's not as bad. But it's still not good.
But it's not good. No, it's just showing
I think he should. I would hope that the coach and the organization talked to him and just been like, hey,
I think he'll lose a game or two.
I don't even know if anything's come of it. I haven't.
Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
We'll see. I mean, I will.
They have to be reviewing it now.
I will fairly say, though, that it is correct what you said. If those roles had been reversed, and I don't like doing the whataboutism thing, but if those roles had been reversed, Luka Doncic would have been in big trouble.
Oh. And it would have been a hard recovery in the media.
Yeah, and I think it would have been, it would have. If he had said bitch ass black boy, even if he didn't say the N word,
right?
If he had just said bitch ass black boy,
yeah,
there would have been a problem. There would have been a problem. I'm not going to deny that. I won't deny that. I don't want to like be flippant about it. But I would say a couple of things. Like to your point, it's not as bad. It's definitely not as bad as if the roles were reversed. Okay. Yeah. And I'm still of that feeling like to me, this goes back to the whole Black Lives Matter thing. And I understand that. And I hate that. That's where I get combative with the all lives matter people, because while I agree with the sentiment that all lives matter, I believe that all lives can't matter until Black lives do matter. And so that's where I sort of come from on this. Should he have said that? No. There's way better trash talking you could say than that. But again, if you want to get mad about it, laugh it off and say, hey, you know what? He can't even hold Luka Doncic's jock.
Drain the three in the next game to give you the win.
Yeah. There you go. And then, you know what? And I think I saw some comments on Twitter about like, that's how you respond to that kind of thing, or, you know, blah, blah. Don't get upset about it. Just be happy with that. It was a cool moment. Yeah, you had to walk off 3 to win a game.
Yeah. I just don't understand. It's like, why don't you be happy about yourself? Why do you have to like demean the other person? Like, I understand why they do it, because they feel like it's kind of funny. It amps them up a little bit, you know, to kind of make the person that's better than you not seem as good, but like, or that you were above that person at that point in time as far as skill set or whatever, or clutchness. Yeah. But I just don't understand. Like, just celebrate you. Like Luka Doncic, when he made that 3, he turned around. He was like to his team. He's like, "Yeah, let's go!" Like he was all excited.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and that's how most people go. Like
it was unfortunate. It was unfortunate because, you know, I think the other thing too is that, you know, we're in a time now where, as bad as things are, I think we're still trying. I think we're recovering to the point of trying to get back to some sort of semblance of racial harmony, although some would argue that never existed to begin with. But it's tough because it's like stuff like that. That's like taking a little bit of a step backwards too, you know?
Yeah.
You know, especially with like the NBA too, which has been very vocal in their support of Black Lives Matter. And on top of that, allowing players to wear slogans on their shirts and things like that. It just wasn't in like the good positive nature of the game right now. That's all, you know, and not just the game, but, you know, where we are in general with race relations and trying to.
And I'm sure he didn't think that he was going to say that. Like, I'm sure that wasn't his. It just was.
It probably just came out.
Yeah,
it came out, and I don't know if I want to see him get reprimanded. I mean, I hope
you have to. You almost have to, because if it happens, because then. It'll continue to happen.
You're right, because you know what? If again, and I hate doing the whataboutism thing, because if the shoe had been on the other foot, I would have said, yeah, Luka needs to be suspended at worst. So it's tough. The problem is Luka's race wasn't oppressed, and Montrezl's was. So that's where it's tricky. It is. It's
tricky, but it doesn't give you the right.
No. No, and it was just, look, let's be fair. It just was not the right thing to say.
Right.
There's no other way around it. It just wasn't.
Bad timing.
There were so many other things you could have said.
Bad timing, and just be happy for yourself. Be happy for yourself and your team, I guess. That's
you know, and it was weird. I don't know if you saw, but as Harold said it afterwards, he kind of, and maybe this was just my own perception of it, but he kind of almost not paused, but he sort of like, I think he sort of stopped and looked around, and maybe he might have even thought to himself, like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that."
Don't.
He did. He kind of had that. He kind of had a look on his face that it, like, maybe you know, a little like, homering into the bush there, but I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. There was just after he did it, after he made the shot, and as he's back, you know, he's backtracking, and then saying it, he kind of like his face almost kind of goes flat, and he sort of like looked around for like a second, And in my head, I was thinking maybe he's thinking to himself, that might not have been the best course of action.
Yeah, it's tough to read minds, but yeah, you can kind of.
But you're in the heat of the moment. It's sports. It's competitive.
There's no fans. Mics are hot.
That too. Yeah. I mean, right. I mean, everything is getting picked up.
Yeah.
I actually will say this. I am enjoying baseball. With the dugout responses are pretty great. Not like on bad pitches and stuff like that, like pitches that get called strikes. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. What? You're like the what's from the dugout? That's actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah. I like it all. I golf, they have it and everything. It's good. It's good. It helps you like feel like you're with them.
Yeah. It's very,
There's the good and the bad to it, you know, because the good is that like you get to hear all that. The bad is that there's no fans.
Right.
Like that, so it's like, which one would you rather have? For me,
give me the fans back.
For me, I would rather hear what they had to say, because for at least the short term, like I like hearing all that stuff. I think you should make the mic from now on. Put microphones in the dugout. Be like, sorry, don't say anything stupid, because you're gonna be the mics are hot.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be throwing stuff out there. We'll try and be as delicate as possible, but like we're gonna throw stuff out.
I want to see an Aaron Boone fucking Savages kind of moment, where you can really hear everything clearly and not through crowd noise.
Yeah,
I mean, I want to see something like that.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
That would be some pretty epic stuff.
Yeah.
If you get
he might have that in the hold that back this year.
Doesn't even need to be him. Just somebody.
I
just
know,
something
but
like that.
That'd be tough.
I just want to see it.
All right, so that was pretty much it for our show, but we have Karen of the week.
I tweeted you. I don't know if you can play it. I did tweet you. Sorry, I meant to mention that earlier. I tweeted you this week's Karen. This was tough too. There was a toss up between the
Sports and Swords or Einhorn Finkel.
Einhorn Finkel, yeah. This was tough because I had to choose between this Karen and another one. They were both. This was close. This was a close toss-up. But the reason I went with this one was because there was a line that this Karen said that I just thought most perfectly encompassed all Karens. Mm-hmm. And so if you could play the audio, I think it would be great, because you'll hear this line and you'll know it when you hear it. Twitter, and it's just like, wow,
hold on.
That is such a Karen thing to say. But basically, so there were two. There was the one that I chose. She was getting a ride from an Uber guy, and she was being rude to him before she even got in the car. Mm-hmm. He refused to bring her, and then she slammed. This was at a Walmart, and then she slammed her cart into his Infinity. And then that's kind of the basic of the one that I did choose. The one I didn't choose was pretty great too. So you've got this Karen in her car videotaping herself after her pregnant daughter has to go into the doctor's office for an ultrasound, and of course they won't let the mom in because the only people they will allow in are the patients themselves. And that's just smart. That's intelligent. That's science. That's for the safety of everybody, right? You let only the person in who needs to go in. Like I said, the other day I had an appendectomy. I'm sorry, an appendectomy. I had a colonoscopy. God, Jesus Christ. Like, as if I need any more things to do. I had a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. And I remember saying to my wife, like, God, I really wish you could be there so that I could see you when I wake up.
Right.
And not just some stranger or the doctor, or whatever. But I understand that's not the world we live in right now. We can't be like that. I wish I could have woken up and seen my wife, because that would have been the best thing for me mentally. But, so anyways, though, this woman's in there ranting and raving about.
I can play it over my phone. So
okay, go ahead.
For some reason, Twitter won't come up on my computer.
Go ahead, go for it. And credit to Crazy Karens at Crazy Karens, because that's where I found this one.
I said I couldn't tell with your mask on. Are you new to Albuquerque? You know what? This isn't gonna work out. I'm not gonna pick you up. I'm not picking you up.
I need to get home.
Oh, well, that's great, but I'm not picking you up. Hey, don't be hitting my car. What is wrong with you? Don't you be hitting my car? What's your problem? What is your problem?
I need a
Well, that's great, but I'm not going to pick up somebody that's rude. Hey,
Hits the
are
car
you
again.
freaking kidding me? What? Why would you hit my car? Why would you hit my car with your shopping cart? When you're being rude, ma'am. You are being rude.
I just asked if you were new in town.
No, I'm not rude, but I'm not going to pick up somebody that is rude. You hit my car with the shopping cart.
I know I did.
Why would you do that? What is wrong with you?
Because I wasn't getting my way and I need a ride.
Well, obviously you have a problem. Why would I put you in my car when you're acting this way? You're going to be charged.
Okay?
The audacity of this lady hitting a private vehicle.
Is there a more Karen line ever than because I wasn't getting my way?
What are you, 6?
You literally just did the Merriam-Webster definition of a Karen. Because I wasn't getting my way. That is perfect. Perfect. Like, you could not have laid it out any better in more simple terms. Because I wasn't getting my way. So good. That's just amazing. That's some hardcore Karen right there.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. The other one was just sort of this woman ranting and raving, politicizing it, with the mask wearing. I can't be there with my daughter. She's like, God forbid, if there's something bad that shows up on that ultrasound and I can't be next to my daughter to hold her hand, I'm going to go ballistic. Like, she was just, but she was good too, because she also had this she looked like she had that older, middle-aged white woman Karen kind of look, but she had this bright orange Mickey Mouse pumpkin t-shirt, which was hilarious. Like, she had the Karen thing going hard. But this one took the cake because she gave you the actual textbook definition of a Karen in the most layman's, simple, basic terms you could possibly ask for, because I wasn't getting what I wanted. That's just awesome. I'm sorry. That takes it, man. That's listen, and I said at the end of the year, we're going to do a Karen of the year. That could be in the running. Because that's, again, you don't get it. Like when you get, sometimes in movies, when you get lines like that are just like very basic, you laugh the most, because it's like, oh yeah, it's just, yeah, you said it as succinctly as you possibly could have. Well, that woman just defined a Karen as succinctly and perfectly as you possibly could want. Succinctly said, because I didn't get what I wanted. It's just...
Good stuff. So Karen. That's so Karen. All right. Thank you guys for watching and listening. However you took this in. Appreciate it. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ShaneandTheBryman. On Twitter at ShaneandBryman. You can find me on Twitter at IronHornusFinkle and Instagram at Happy McAvoy.
You can find me on Twitter at _Bry_man. Oh, that's it.
You're not going to do the beginning of the end?
Oh, well, yeah, sorry. I didn't know if we were at that part yet. I didn't know if there was something else you want to say. Well, yes, we have reached the end of our show. And in the words of the immortal, well, not immortal, he is dead, Tony Stark, part of the journey is the end. Also, stay classy, Planet Globe.
The ex-mortal Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Who knows if he'll come back, though? Who knows? There's all these different timelines. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and listening. We hope you had a good time listening to the show. We'll be back again at least next Monday. Maybe later this week. Who knows? See what comes out. See what pops up.
That's what she said.
Bye.
Now I'm done.
Yeah, you are. I have to pee, like so.